As Bitcoin haters and lovers alike are right now glued to the charts, with Bitcoin on the verge of doing something for the first time in 3 months. Will the bulls be left shaking and crying after a failed breakout attempt? Or are the bears about to be slurped and glurped into oblivion? So if you're ready for this market to slurp your glizzy until you're dizzy, hit that like and subscribe. As well, you have 7 days left if you want a free entry to draw and win something potentially big or potentially small. Without any further ado, let's completely and absolutely dump into what we see right now, Bitcoin. For the past 3 months, we have been doing what we like to call in the industry trading sideways, not doing anything, I guess you could say. However, some very big things are happening on this chart. And I'm going to spend a lot of this video talking about this is the very first time this actually happened in well over a month. And it gives the Moon Boys some hopium, some copium, and everything in between. So before we actually look at that, let's take a look at this as well. It's officially been 30 days since Bitcoin last made an all-time high. 30 days is not really that long, right? If you go through a bear market, it can be multiple years. But it's been 30 days since Bitcoin has hit an all-time high, and the sentiment could not be worse. People are losing faith. People think it's absolutely all ogre. But what if, in fact, it hasn't even begun to be ogre? We also see this, the magic Bitcoin trend line that never fails, according to Merlin on X. Every touch equals giga liftoff, and you're still bearish? Look at this. Are we about to initiate what I like to call a bust? As well, we see that Texas, their Bitcoin reserve bill is expected to pass the committee after its first hearing. Could Texas be the very first state to buy Bitcoin? That could be big, potentially even large. We see as well that JP Morgan is warning of downside risk for crypto. JP Morgan is kind of like a Cramer-esque entity, meaning whatever JP Morgan says, usually the opposite happens because, JP Morgan and Jamie Dimon were calling Bitcoin a scam the last 10 years. And actually Jamie Dimon still basically is, even though JP Morgan is invested in these ETFs, in the Bitcoin ETFs. So hypocrisy. We also see that I personally believe GameStop is likely to be buying large amounts of Bitcoin. They have over $4.6 billion in cash on their balance sheet. And they did meet, the CEO, Ryan Cohen of GameStop, did meet with Michael Saylor 2 weeks ago. So if GameStop decides to put some of that cash into Bitcoin, let's just say things will not be big. They have the potential of being extremely big. Now, as you can see on this chart, the price of Bitcoin has been going sideways. Now, if we look at a daily chart, this is a weekly, if we look at a daily chart, you can see that we've seen this sideways channel that we've been between basically 90 and 100 and roughly $5,000 pretty consistently on these daily closes for about 3 months. Now, okay, this is where it gets big. We, right now, are receiving the very first daily chart MACD bullish cross since, well, last time we were kind of in this position and we really initiated this from being oversold region. This was all the way back when Bitcoin was 60, not even 60,000 US dollars, all the way down here. The last time the daily MACD looked like this. And as well, if we look at the RSI currently for Bitcoin as well, it is looking like it potentially double bottomed right here as well. You can see essentially bottoming back at the very end of 2024. And the RSI looks like it wants to go up now after also getting a bullish cross. So RSI and MACD also, looking pretty big. We look at the daily chart. We are right now trying to get above the 100-day moving average. And currently we're below all three, the 21, 50, and 100-day moving averages for Bitcoin. So this is a big moment. Bitcoin absolutely has some momentum that it could really start, or some momentum could really start accelerating here, considering that on these shorter time frames, this is the very first time that we're seeing some actual buy pressure at these levels. So potentially Bitcoin could go on a nice run as well. It's very rare to see Bitcoin in a bull market have especially 5 consecutive red weekly candles, meaning it's possible that this week or next week is very likely to be green. And actually on this recent little baby move to the upside, as of right now, there's still 3 days left of this candle, but as of right now, this candle actually slightly turned green, where the most of this week so far, it's actually been red. So Additionally, we see the DXY, as I've been talking about, is continuing to dump. It actually put in a new low lowest it's been since the beginning of December. It put in a new low today. I think the DXY, as I've been saying, is going to be going down for at least the next year or so, considering if it does anything like what it did the first time Trump took office. It started crashing as soon as Trump took office, the DXY. I think that trend's going to continue, which is good, which is bullish for Bitcoin. The SPX actually put in a new all-time high yesterday. But what do you notice now? It's actually having a pretty red day. I mean, this is down like 1%, or it was. Now it's down about 0.6. But retesting its 21-day moving average. All-time high for the S&P SPX yesterday, but now it's a little dumpy. But Bitcoin itself, I think, is on the verge of potentially making a move here. I think it has the chance of actually ramping up and having a move here. You can see when we initially ran up to 100K for the first time, look at the daily chart MACD, how overbought we got, right? We had to swing all the way back down, down to here, and then spent the last couple of months kind of wavering a little bit. But now that we're this oversold again, the most oversold we've been since back in September of 2024, there once again is potentially hope for the Moon Boys. Now, potentially, I mean, really the big thing to watch is the weekly for Bitcoin, because if we get a green weekly candle, essentially we want to hold above the 21 week as long as we're above like 90K, which we barely get down to 90K. You can see no weekly candle close has really even come close to 90K since we got above it. I think buy pressure is just still really strong. Now, keep in mind, we have not been pumping these last 3 months, really. I mean, even though we kind of did, we put in a new all-time high a couple times in this sideways range, most recently back here on January 20th. But we have not been dumping. That's the bigger picture, is that there's a lot of buy pressure. And there's actually a lot of selling that's been going on. It's just the selling cannot get us below 90K. And so we've gotten so much good news. People are asking, why aren't we pumping? Why aren't we pumping? Well, it's true. We are not like just going vertical for the Bitcoin chart, and especially not for altcoins, but we're also not dumping. And if this were flipped and we had this floor, and I can actually just invert this really quick. What this looks like to me is so many rejections at the same level in a downtrend. What I would think would come next, most likely, makes most sense, is that we would start trending down here. But that's the thing. When you flip it, it gives you a different perspective. What that really is a pump, because it's inverted. So I just think there's been so much support at 90K. I think that this is a spring-loaded, absolute pumpy. Think of it like a trampoline. If you're on a trampoline and you jump really hard, then if you jump really hard, then you'll bounce really hard and you'll go really high. And Bitcoin is pretty much like a trampoline that has somebody who's ready to jump and bounce really big. That's probably the worst metaphor I think I've ever come up with on this channel. So congratulations and I'm also sorry that anyone had to listen to that. But as well, yeah, this thing looks very spring-loaded, and especially when you look at the daily chart and all of these kind of momentum indicators, I don't know. I think a pump could be a lot sooner than people think. And also 90K is like so well defended. I would be shocked if 90K got shattered or something. There's so much buy pressure every time we get to 90K. But as well, if you're interested in signing up, you have 7 days left to get a free draw, and additionally some other ones if you do these other things, but it's all free if you just sign up with below. Without further ado,